Did you know that in the midst of President Trump's aggressive tariff hikes in 2025, which slapped up to 50% duties on Indian imports to the US, India has boldly pivoted with a massive $200 billion export strategy targeting 8 key countries? This audacious move isn't just a retaliation. It's a game changer that's sending shockwaves through American boardrooms, as India's diversification threatens to erode US market dominance and boost global trade alliances that bypass Washington entirely. Welcome to today's video on Trump Tariffs Backfire. India's $200 billion export plan with 8 countries shocks America. If you're into geopolitics, economics, or just love seeing underdogs flip the script, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives. Let's count down from 8 to 1, exploring each country in India's master plan, unpacking the deals, the dollars, and the drama of 2025's trade wars. Starting our countdown at number 8, Saudi Arabia. Folks, Saudi Arabia might not be the first name that pops into your head when thinking of India's export partners, but in 2025, it's emerging as a powerhouse ally in India's $200 billion blueprint. With bilateral trade already hovering around $50 billion annually, India's exports to the kingdom surged by 15% in the first half of 2025, reaching about $15 billion, fueled by petroleum products, chemicals, and engineering goods. Why the boom? Well, Trump's tariffs, which hit Indian steel and aluminum hard starting in July 2025, pushed New Delhi to double down on Middle Eastern ties. Educational nugget here. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 is all about diversifying away from oil, and India fits perfectly by supplying machinery and pharma. Think affordable generics that undercut US prices. Recent updates from August 2025 show India and Saudi Arabia inking a new energy pact, allowing Indian refineries to process Saudi crude and re-export value-added products, dodging US penalties on Russian oil purchases that Trump tacked on. This isn't just trade. It's strategic. Analysts say this could backfire on America by strengthening the India-Saudi axis, potentially pulling Riyadh further from US influence in OPEC decisions. Imagine US consumers paying more for imported goods while India racks up billions. Talk about a tariff twist. Moving to number 7, Indonesia. Indonesia, the archipelagic giant of Southeast Asia, where India's export plan is weaving a web of opportunity worth an estimated $18 billion in 2025 alone as part of the $200 billion total. India's shipments here include textiles, pharmaceuticals, and auto parts, with a whopping 20% growth reported in Q2 2025 by the Indian Commerce Ministry. Informative fact: Indonesia's economy, projected to hit $1.5 trillion GDP this year, relies heavily on imports for its manufacturing boom, and India's low-cost, high-quality exports are filling that gap amid Trump's trade tantrums. Remember, Trump's 25% blanket tariff on Indian goods he announced in July 2025 was meant to punish New Delhi for high trade barriers, but instead, it accelerated India's ASEAN outreach. A shocking 2025 update. In June, India and Indonesia upgraded their Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement, slashing duties on over 5,000 items, which directly counters US protectionism. This deal not only boosts Indian exports, but educates us on how emerging markets are banding together. Indonesia's palm oil swaps for Indian machinery create a balanced trade that America can't meddle in. The backfire? US firms like Caterpillar are losing ground in Indonesian infrastructure projects to Indian competitors, potentially costing American jobs. It's a lesson in economics. Tariffs don't isolate. They innovate alliances. Now, at number 6, Brazil. The South American behemoth slots in with projected $20 billion in Indian exports for 2025, a key slice of the $200 billion pie. From soybeans to aircraft parts, wait no, India exports petroleum, pharma, and chemicals to Brazil, seeing a 12% uptick in exports post-Trump's tariff escalation in August 2025. Educational deep dive. As BRICS partners, India and Brazil share a history of countering Western dominance and Trump's penalties for India's Russian ties. Remember that unspecified penalty tacked onto the 25% tariff have only tightened this bond. Recent news from July 2025. The two nations launched a joint biofuel initiative, where Indian tech helps Brazil refine ethanol, boosting exports of engineering goods. This isn't random. It's calculated. With Brazil's economy rebounding to 2.5% growth in 2025, India's affordable generics are flooding pharmacies, undercutting U.S. pharma giants like Pfizer. The shock to America. Trump's tariffs aim to bring manufacturing home, but they're pushing allies like Brazil toward India, potentially disrupting U.S. soybean exports if retaliatory measures kick in. It's a classic case of unintended consequences. Tariffs meant to protect end up isolating. Hitting number 5. Singapore, the tiny titan of trade, is pivotal in India's strategy, with exports climbing to $22 billion in 2025, driven by electronics, machinery, and services. Informative insight. As a global hub, Singapore serves as a gateway for Indian goods into Asia-Pacific, and amid Trump's 50% tariff threat on India effective August 2025, New Delhi ramped up its comprehensive economic cooperation agreement with Singapore. A fresh update from May 2025. India signed an addendum allowing zero tariff access for digital services, exploding software exports by 25%. This educates us on the power of services trade. India's IT giants like TCS are now basing operations in Singapore to skirt U.S. duties. The backfire on Trump. American tech firms are seeing contracts shift to Indian Singaporean JVs, eroding U.S. dominance in AI and fintech. Shocking stat. Singapore's re-exports of Indian goods to the U.S. dropped 30% post-tariffs, but direct India-Asia trade soared, proving diversification works. It's engaging because it shows how a small nation amplifies India's global punch. At number 4, Bangladesh. Our neighbor Bangladesh ranks high with $25 billion in projected 2025 exports from India, encompassing textiles, machinery, and pharma as part of the $200 billion shockwave. Educational angle. Bangladesh's garment industry thrives on Indian yarn and fabrics, creating a symbiotic relationship that's tariff-proof. Trump's August 2025 tariff hike, which paused India's U.S. arms buys in retaliation, pushed more focus here. Key 2025 update. In March, India extended a $2 billion credit line for infrastructure, boosting exports of cement and steel. This isn't just aid. It's smart economics. Bangladesh's 7% GDP growth absorbs Indian surpluses hit by U.S. barriers. The American shock. U.S. apparel brands like Gap are facing higher costs as supply chains shift eastward, potentially inflating prices stateside. It's a reminder that tariffs can boomerang, hurting the imposer's consumers. Number 3. The Netherlands. Europe enters the fray with the Netherlands at $28 billion in Indian exports for 2025, heavy on petroleum, chemicals, and engineering. Informative fact. As Europe's largest port via Rotterdam, the Netherlands re-exports Indian goods continent-wide, and Trump's tariffs have accelerated India's EU pivot. Breaking news from July 2025. India and the EU via Netherlands as a key player advanced FTA talks, aiming for completion by year-end, slashing duties on 90% of lines. This counters Trump's 25% hit on Indian imports, which backfired by straining U.S.-India ties. Educational twist. Dutch demand for Indian renewables tech surged 18% amid energy crises. The shock. U.S. exporters like Exxon are losing European market share to Indian refined oils, proving tariffs foster competitors. Engaging, right? It's like watching a chess game where India checkmates protectionism. Sliding into number 2, China. Yes, China. Despite border tensions, India's exports here hit $30 billion in 2025, a bold move in the $200 billion plan. Pharma, raw materials, and electronics lead, with a 10% rise post-Trump's tariff war. Shocking educational point. Trump's moves, including 10% extra on Chinese goods in December 2024 extending to 2025, inadvertently pushed India-China rapprochement, as seen in August 2025's border de-escalation talks tied to trade. Update. A new bilateral pact in June allowed Indian APIs into Chinese pharma, bypassing U.S. sanctions. The backfire. America aimed to decouple from China, but united rivals, with joint ventures eroding U.S. tech leads. It's dramatic. Tariffs meant to divide our bridging gaps. Finally, number 1. The United Arab Emirates UAE. Topping the list with a staggering $42 billion in 2025 exports, the UAE is India's crown jewel in this $200 billion strategy. Gems, jewelry, petroleum, and services dominate, up 22% amid Trump's August 2025 50% tariff rollout. Informative deep dive. The 2022 SEPA exploded trade, and 2025's Gold Corridor update made Dubai India's re-export hub. Recent scoop. In April 2025, India-UAE launched a rupee-dirham settlement, dodging dollar dominance and U.S. penalties. This educates on de-dollarization trends. The ultimate shock to America. UAE's pivot to Indian oil refines hurts U.S. energy exports, with Trump's tariffs backfiring by pushing allies away. It's a masterstroke. India's plan not only survives but thrives, shocking the world. That was our countdown. India's $200 billion export surge with these 8 countries isn't just numbers. It's a testament to resilience against tariffs. In 2025, with exports hitting a record $825 billion despite headwinds, it's clear Trump's policies are backfiring, boosting multipolar trade. What do you think? Will this reshape global economics? Drop your thoughts below, share this video, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.